Omarosa Manigault Newman has been on NBC and CBS and PBS and repeatedly on MSNBC pushing her book denouncing President Trump as unhinged and rolling out one secretly recorded tape after another, such as this one, with the president after John Kelly fired her in the Situation Room.
Omarosa, what's going on? I just saw on the news that you're thinking about leaving. What happened?
General Kelly came to me and said that you guys wanted me to leave.
You know, they run a big operation, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn it. I don't love you leaving at all.
She called him a liar for pleading ignorance of her dismissal, and the president responded by saying the fake news media will be working overtime to make even wacky Omarosa look legitimate as possible, and also by calling his former aide a crazed, crying lowlife and a dog.
The president called you a dog this morning. What's your reaction?
I think that it just shows you that if he would say that publicly, what else would he say about me privately? He has absolutely no respect for women, for African Americans.
Joining us now here in Los Angeles, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com and a syndicated radio host and columnist. Christina Bellantoni, a former LA Times editor who now runs the Media Center at USC's Annenberg School of Communication. And Adrian Elrod, a Democratic strategist who's been attending a lot of Hollywood parties here. Ben, a number of anchors have challenged Omarosa at times in these interviews, but at the same time, they are giving her a huge platform to condemn the president she once praised. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, she's getting the strange new respect that accrues to anybody who's inside the administration, then leaves the administration and bashes the administration. And that's not particularly surprising. I mean, she's a story, obviously, but when half of the conversation is about a tape that doesn't exist or may not exist or we have no evidence of existing, that's where he starts to get into troubling waters. Because the fact is, what she says that she heard, that's news. What she says that she has on tape, that's news. But it's not really news when you say that you may have heard that there may be a tape at some point that you may have heard, and then this becomes the cause of conversation for an entire week.
I agree with you fully on particularly on the last point. Are much of the media just sort of irresistibly drawn, not just to the drama of former Apprentice star, former senior White House aide, now turning on her former boss, but also kind of embracing her anti-Trump narrative?
I mean, that's part of it, right? But if anybody thinks it's surprising that Omarosa is getting attention, wasn't paying attention in 2004 when she was on the very first season of The Apprentice. This is someone who...
But that was a reality show.
Sure, and she's got first name only status. It became a huge headline when she joined the White House to begin with. So, of course, this is going to continue to draw up headlines. The president is feeding into that as well. So this is one of the things she knows how to do. She knows how to be provocative. She knows how to command attention. And she's even had a very orchestrated rollout of, well, here's this tape I'm going to play on this show, and here's this tape that I'm going to play on this show. And she's, you know, in command of this, and she's trying to sell books. I think we need to be frank that this is partly a commercial enterprise.
I'm going to guess that she's being successful at that. A highly orchestrated rollout. And just this morning on MSNBC, she said, I believe Trump wants to start a race war. But to what extent, Adrian, has Trump's fuselage of insults against her, particularly the dog, the crazy and the wacky and all that, have they kind of boosted this story into the stratosphere, whereas otherwise it might have run out of gas after 2 or 3 days?
Yeah, of course, and I think maybe that's what President Trump is trying to do, right? He's
trying to give more attention to
well, I think he's trying to discredit her, and he's doing that in a very demeaning way. But look, typically somebody like this would not, a disgruntled staffer would not get this kind of coverage, right? The difference here is that Omarosa has known President Trump for 15 years. She's got tapes. Is a drip, drip, drip. Let's not forget when John Podesta's emails during the 2016 campaign were being released every day. That was such a media spectacle, right? The media was covering it like it was breaking news every single day.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be covered.
This is not too dissimilar.
It's a big story. The question is, why is it such a big story, and why is she able to
Because
go
she
on?
has tapes, emails, and evidence, text messages that she's willing to drip, drip, drip out.
Well, Ben, when journalists say, they have her on, they say, well, why did you say such great things about him all those years? And she says, oh, I was complicit. I had a blind spot, but now I'm seeing the light. Do you think she's
magical? Funny how that works, right? As soon as she's fired, then she finally realizes that she had a blind spot.
But although she's kind of getting a pass on that.
Of course she is.
It's kind of a stock answer.
Of course. I mean, look, the media are treating her with a great deal of respect when this is a woman who's been fired more often than an M4 in Anbar province, right? I mean, she was fired twice by the Clinton administration, 3 times on The Apprentice, and now once by Trump. And undoubtedly, if she says something nice about him, he'll hire her back and then fire her again. So, you know, I don't think that we've seen the last of her. But
there could be a season 4, season 6.
Well, I mean, season 3 of Trump is awesome, and the writers of the season are fantastic. But I think that her guest starring appearance will not end here. She'll probably come back in a couple of seasons.
And not every single journalist is saying she's great and here's her platform. I mean, April Ryan has been very prominently talking about her, saying, like, don't use my name in all of this because, you know, I've done some serious reporting on this matter.
Right. But, you know, these tapes, and look, if she has actual tapes, and that's clearly news, and she has dribbled them out in very strategic fashion. But I haven't seen many question, well, why? The tapes are very selective. Are they being run together? Are they being edited?
Is this her best stuff? I mean, really?
Yeah.
Like, the tapes that we've seen are her being fired and then Lara Trump offering her money to join the campaign.
Which she describes as hush money.
Okay, well, you can describe it however you want, but it's
Right.
Lara Trump. It's not even one of the famous Trumps.
Well, usually if you leave an administration, you join a campaign, it's kind of expected that you're not going to say terrible things about the potential candidate.
Generally. I mean, you know, what we don't know about whatever tapes may or may not exist, we have to think about it. We all work in television, and we know that the cameras are always on, the microphones are always on.
Yeah.
We've seen Bill O'Reilly get caught in, you know, unflattering moments because somebody saved that footage. I mean, it is entirely possible that there are things out there that make everyone look incredibly, put everybody in an incredibly unflattering light.
What about Ben's point, Adrian, that the one tape that is getting the most attention is the one tape that we have no idea whether it exists, and it's basically a lot of speculation. And she's even given conflicting accounts of whether she heard it and someone else heard it and told her, but some people have denied that. The alleged N-word tape, which if it comes out, then it's a huge story. But right now, nobody's got any evidence of it.
Right, and I think I think there are plenty of people in the media who do want to keep this going because it is good for television. It is, you know, again, a disgruntled staffer who has known President Trump for a long time is coming out and making these allegations. But I do agree. I mean, eventually this tape has either got to come out or we need to stop talking about it and giving it the oxygen that she's trying to
So
give
we
it.
have a rare consensus on that. Right.
Yeah.
So does anyone care that she's a turncoat, or is that just sort of help the reality TV style storyline?
I mean, I thought that was actually her WWE role here, was to be the turncoat. I mean, she's the heel. She's doing the turn. So that's not any shock. But what is kind of surprising, I wouldn't say surprising, but what is, I guess, predictably annoying is that so many members of the media are willing to drive a race narrative from everything that she is saying. So President Trump, for example, when he says dog, and everybody goes, well, that's a racial thing because he says dog. President Trump has called legitimately half the United States dog. Okay, right? He called Kristen Stewart in her relation with Robert Patterson, Doug. Right? This is his thing. He just says it all the time. And the media, because they are trying to drive the narrative that maybe the N-word tape is real and he's actually a racist, they're going to pick on that particular comment. Listen, is it bad he says that stuff?
Call a woman
Of
a
course.
dog. I mean, that's pretty bad.
Yes. Are
And
we surprised?
none of it is
I mean,
shocking in the President Trump sphere.
This is exactly correct.
would
Has
just-
anybody's opinion of Trump shifted like an iota in any of this?
Okay, well, I would just say that canine allusions aside, alleged, supposed, purported N-word tape aside, she was the highest-ranking African-American in the White House, and she's now saying she thinks he's a racist, and that we can
That's
debate
a
his
news
policy
story.
toward
Yes,
minorities,
right.
but that part you can't completely take away.